Once upon a time, there was a lady going through some tough times. Her sister had just the cure. Go volunteer. Well, that was not really the advice that she was looking for. She was stressed out, not knowing what tomorrow would hold for her. Her sister called again and said, go volunteer. She wasn't the passive kind of sister. Pretty direct all day, every day. And so again, her sister called and said, I have found the perfect volunteer information for you. They have an orientation next week. Just go and check it out. So she did. The organization was called CASA, which stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. During the orientation, she learned all about the volunteer experience and was stunned by the fact that you had to train for 40 hours before you could even volunteer.
Wow.
You must be joking, she said to herself. And then they started talking about the volunteer duties. Speak for a child in court. Stand up for what is right for the child. Look out for the best interest of the child. And then she thought, why isn't someone doing this already? What could this mean? So out of sheer curiosity, she signed up and went to the first training session. That is where her aha moments began. She heard all about the children in foster care and visited local group homes and foster homes and understood that these children were not there through any fault of their own. They were victims of abuse and neglect. How could this be happening no more than 3 miles from her home, she wondered, right under her nose, and she had no clue. Then the experience of standing up for children in court was enlightening. Not always hearing common sense used by those in power to protect children. Seeing a system broken and wondering what the solutions could be, issue by issue. It was overwhelming, but not impossible. Then, year after year, hearing story after story and excuse after excuse of why things were the way they were, it came to her like a light bulb. The big question, the solution. Why are there so many children waiting to be adopted when there are so many people trying to adopt? I know people who will adopt a sibling group, older children, abandoned babies, and my circle is small in comparison. So imagine, how many are out there? So why are they not able to adopt? So she decided to do some research, and very soon, the reasons were obvious. There were major myths out there, and they were being perpetuated by adoption professionals. In addition, everybody giving information had skin in the game, and the information was so confusing. It was as if you had to be a private detective with a legal degree to figure anything out. Really, are we trying to solve the orphan crisis or make a buck? Everyone is making money at these children's expense. The government, group homes, adoption professionals, everyone. One day, over a cup of coffee, she asked a friend, how could I have not known about this? Why would people let children be caught up in this nightmare? His response, they don't know, just like you didn't. Her first thought was to tell everyone, but that was before Facebook and social networking, so that might take too long. So let's find people who've already decided to adopt and teach them how, she thought. She went back to school, got a degree in communication, PR. 2 years later, after grabbing every relevant internship possible, including the state's Child Advocate Department, then the March of Dimes, where she was later offered a position, the best learning experience money can't buy. She applied for the nonprofit status and put some really cool people in a room in December 2003 and said, "Help me do this." Many of them became the first board members. They helped name the organization and gave advice and expertise. She then began putting all the right people in place to figure this solution out. Great minds helped her create this organization every step of the way. They built a curriculum, filled room after room with potential adoptive parents, and then created the first workbook, DVD, and a cool web educational portal. People started talking and telling everyone they knew about Adoption Discovery. And soon, the demand for groups was too high, a good problem, but a problem nonetheless. There were never enough churches and leaders to equal the demand of potential parents. It wasn't possible to train leaders fast enough, and from that, the Adoption Discovery that you see today was born. Online training whenever, wherever. Fast, accurate information for all those potential parents eagerly wanting to adopt a waiting child was created. Educate them and let them decide what is best for their family. No large adoption fees. No one being held emotionally hostage while they hold their checkbook. No more humiliating conversations about what you don't know and what you can't have. Adoption Discovery and the lady who started it want everyone to hear the truth, be educated on how to get the process done with little pain and agony. It is possible with a simple education, good people, good families all working together to solve the orphan crisis. She would say, one child at a time, but 75% of the Adoption Discovery families are adopting again, so maybe one family at a time. This will not be her last chapter. She will solve the orphan crisis and then move on to helping children some other way. And they will all live happily ever after.